Welcome to Unapologetically Anxious Me, Confessions of a Haitian Girl, the podcast where I blend life, love, sex, and relationships with mental health, social issues, and history, all from my very unabashed perspective. Join me, Joe Ciceron, as we unravel the power of vulnerability, celebrate storytelling, our history, and connect with incredible individuals who have tales to share. Let's dive deep into our essence and the narratives that mold us, because in this space, we believe in the magic of authenticity and the beauty of being unapologetically you. Welcome back to another episode of Unapologetically Anxious Me, Confessions of a Haitian Girl. I'm your host, Joe, and I am so happy we are back together. And it has been so long since I have been able to sit down one-on-one with you and have a conversation. Of course, I absolutely love having guest interviews, but it is a rare occasion when I get to actually speak to you one-on-one. But today I feel is just a perfect opportunity to connect and touch base about something that I feel is really impacting everyone, regardless of what side you fall on politically. It is hella stressful to be living through and existing in this day and age. And I think the impact on our mental health is just drastic, especially on our communities of color. From social justice issues to policy changes, it feels like the weight of the world is constantly on our shoulders. At any given moment, we are constantly exposed to divisive rhetoric, policy changes that disproportionately affect Black and Brown communities, and the emotional toll of hearing about injustices is beyond. Whether it's through the news, social media, or even our personal lives, it's pretty hard to ignore how these things are directly affecting our mental health. For me, it's like I'm constantly stuck in a whirlwind of anxiety and stress, and I know I'm not alone. In this episode, I'm going to explore how this administration is affecting our mental health, especially within communities of color. I'll dive into what this impact looks like and why it's important to acknowledge its toll, especially in terms of how it affects us emotionally, psychologically, and socially. First, let's unpack the emotional toll of constantly being under attack. For many of us, every time there's a new policy from this administration, it does feel like we are under attack. Whether it's racial disparities in healthcare, police brutality, or immigration policies, these things do have a direct impact on our emotional well-being. It's a kind of chronic stress that's always in the background, and it builds up. Now, the psychological effects of living through this crisis. When you're always hearing about the latest injustice or policy change that is undermining communities of color, it triggers feelings of powerlessness, helplessness, and sometimes even fear of your own safety. These kinds of crises take a major toll on your mental health and contribute to things like heightened anxiety, depression, and burnout. Right now, it feels like there's no reprieve and no break from the constant negativity. And what about the fear of backlash and retaliation? For those of us within communities of color, the rhetoric we hear from the top down feels like an open invitation to violence. It feels like they're declaring open season on us. I've seen it play out with the rise of hate crimes, especially targeting Black, Asian, and immigrant communities. This type of fear takes a significant emotional toll and is exhausting to constantly be worried about your safety and the safety of your loved ones. Something that white people often overlook is the microaggressions and systemic oppression that Black and Brown communities experience in the everyday. The reality is that the division in this country has become more visible and has seeped into everyday interactions. People today feel way more emboldened to express their racist, xenophobic, or homophobic sentiments, and this affects how we interact with others in our community, workplaces, and even in our families. The constant microaggressions, whether it's being dismissed in a meeting, being questioned about your nationality, or being blamed for a systemic issue, adds to the strain. Now let's talk about racial trauma and the collective grief. This administration has exacerbated racial trauma, in particular for Black, Indigenous, and people of color. The constant exposure to stories of police brutality, racial profiling, and attacks on immigrants' rights feels like a collective wound. It brings up old traumas and forces us to relive our struggles as a community, leading to a kind of grief that's shared but often unspoken. And now the impact on families and communities. On top of all this, There's the added stress of raising children in an environment where all they see is injustices, where they may be directly impacted by these policies and social unrest. It's about our children being raised in a hostile society that creates anxiety both for them and their parents. While the current political landscape has undoubtedly hurt our mental health, I do think it is important that we do talk about our mental resilience. The reality is our community has survived a lot, and we will continue to survive and thrive in ways we could only dream of. So whether that's leaning on each other within our communities or finding small victories along the way, or using our creativity as a people to get through these tough times and expressing ourselves and what we're feeling, it is these very tools and coping mechanisms that are going to carry us through and make us so much stronger on the other side. These tools are vital and imperative to our healing, passed along throughout the generations by our ancestors, keeping us sharp and strong to get through these very moments. Self-care isn't just a bubble bath and a face mask. It's about knowing how to protect your mental health in the most vulnerable of moments. It's about knowing how to protect those around you and your family. In this political climate in particular, that sometimes means turning off the television. That sometimes means staying off of social media or even taking a break for a day or two or even a week. Not allowing that distress to get to you or taking over. It's important to set boundaries with people, with yourself, with the media. Advocacy and activism as a source of healing is vital. One way that so many of us are healing in this moment is through our activism. Whether that is giving back to the community, whether that is being active in the community, whether that is doing your small role, activism means something different to everybody. And that also has a huge role in taking care of your mental health. When the system is failing us, standing up for our rights and the rights of others gives us a sense of control. Being involved in social justice work, whether that's through protest, organizing, or educating others, helps us channel our pain and anger into something constructive. So how do we move forward? By building a more supportive and inclusive future. There's a vital need for political change and accountability. If we're going to address the mental health crisis caused by the current political administration, we need systemic change. So what does that mean? That means holding politicians accountable. It means demanding better policies and ensuring that marginalized voices are being heard and included in the decision-making process. We actually need government to listen to our needs and take our mental health seriously. Secondly, we need to create supportive communities. In the absence of a political system that actually supports us, we have to create our own. That means building communities where we can actually share our experiences with each other and be vulnerable, where we can lift each other up. We need spaces where we prioritize our mental health, healing, and inclusivity. Third, we have to create some level of hope for the future. I know right now it feels like we're stuck in some never-ending cycle of just political unrest and uncertainty. The injustice is consistent and unsettling, but I truly do believe we have the power to create change. We've done it before, so we can do it again. Our resilience, our activism, and our love for one another is what can actually help us heal and move forward. So it's very true. The current political climate has made it so hard to protect our mental health, but it's also shown us just how very strong we really are. We've been through so much already, and still we're standing. It's important that we keep talking about the emotional struggles, the political unrest, the uncertainties, the injustices, and that we keep fighting back. If you're feeling overwhelmed, you're not alone, and it's okay to take a step back and protect your peace. Find your community, engage in self-care, and keep pushing for change. You deserve a life free of fear and filled with color, joy, and I truly believe we can get there together. Let's keep this conversation going. Share your thoughts, your experiences, your coping strategies with me. I'd love to hear them all. Together, we can create a space for healing and change. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and share this with someone who needs this. This has been another episode of Unapologetically Anxious Me, Confessions of a Haitian Girl. Until next time, bye!